And hopefully that gave you a minute to wrap your head around just how much AI is changing photography.
It's wild, right? So much to think about, but it's exciting too.
Yeah, absolutely. Speaking of exciting, you mentioned earlier that AI could actually recreate lighting after you've already taken a picture.
Yeah, that one kind of blew my mind.
It's crazy, right? Think about it. You're shooting a portrait and the light's not perfect. In the future, you might be able to just use AI to fix it later, as if you had a whole studio setup with you.
That would be huge for people who don't have fancy lighting equipment.
Totally levels the playing field, you know? Opens up so many creative doors.
But with all this talk about AI and what it can do,
Yeah.
makes you wonder, will AI eventually just replace photographers altogether?
That's the big question, isn't it? And there's no easy answer.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, AI can handle the technical stuff like we've been talking about, but it can't replace the human element.
Right, that creativity, that intuition, the way a photographer connects with their subject.
Exactly. That's what makes a photo special. A camera, even a super smart one, is just a tool. It's the photographer who brings the artistry, the vision, the story.
So maybe AI won't replace photographers, but it'll free them up to focus on the stuff that makes photography an art form.
I think that's a great way to look at it. It's about collaboration, not replacement. AI handles the tech stuff, so photographers can spend more time on composition, on telling a story, capturing those real moments.
Kind of like how digital editing didn't replace photographers. It just gave them new tools to express themselves.
Perfect analogy. And just like with any new technology, some people will love it, some people will hate it.
But the ones who figure out how to use AI, they'll be the ones who really push the boundaries of what's possible.
No doubt about it. It's an exciting time to be into photography.
Speaking of exciting, you mentioned computational photography earlier. Can you break that down a little more? What exactly does that mean?
Sure. Basically, it means we're using software to make pictures better than what a normal lens and sensor can do on their own. It's a mix of photography and computer science.
So it's not just taking a picture, it's also about processing it, messing with it, using algorithms.
Exactly. And it's happening everywhere already. Smartphone cameras are the perfect example. They use computational photography to do things like combine multiple shots, get rid of noise, even make 3D models of a scene.
That explains why phone cameras have gotten so good so fast.
Big time. And as AI gets better, who knows what'll be possible? We're talking about pictures that are super sharp, super detailed, way more dynamic than anything we've seen before.
It almost sounds like the line between photography and digital art is getting blurry.
It is, and that's what's so cool. It's really changing how we think about images.
But with all this stuff happening behind the scenes, how do we know what's real anymore? Can we even trust the pictures we see?
That's a valid point. With computational photography and AI becoming more common, it's super important to be critical of the pictures we see. We need to be aware that things can be faked or manipulated.
So it's about having a good eye and a healthy dose of skepticism.
Exactly. And we need to be talking about this stuff, the ethics of image manipulation and how to use these technologies responsibly.
Like any powerful tool, it can be used for good or bad.
Right. We have to make sure it's used the right way.
Okay, let's shift gears a little and talk about facial recognition. Another area where AI is making a big impact.
Yeah, this tech is everywhere already. Unlocking our phones, helping solve crimes, all sorts of stuff.
And it's becoming really common in security cameras and surveillance systems.
Definitely. And that brings up some big questions about privacy, about our rights. We got to be careful how this technology is used.
It's a tough balance between safety and privacy.
Absolutely. And as AI gets even better at recognizing faces, these questions are only going to get tougher.
We need to be having these conversations now before the technology gets too far ahead of us.
Couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
It's about shaping the future of AI in a way that works for everyone, for the greater good.
You mentioned earlier that these AI lenses really rely on software updates to stay current, to keep working right.
That's right. It's not a one and done kind of thing.
So what does that mean for regular people who buy these lenses? How often are these updates happening? And what if you miss one?
It depends on the company and the lens itself. Some might update every month, some every few months, some just once a year.
And what are these updates doing? What kind of improvements are we talking about?
All kinds of things. They might tweak the AI algorithms to be more accurate, add new features, make the lens work better in certain situations, or even just fix bugs and security holes.
So it's not just about keeping up with the latest trends, it's about making sure your lens is working its best.
Exactly. And what happens if you miss updates? Well, it depends. You might see the lens slow down, have trouble connecting to new devices, or miss out on cool new features.
Sounds like it's worth keeping those updates coming then.
Definitely. Most companies make it pretty easy, though. They usually have apps or programs that do it automatically.
Good to know. So it's kind of like keeping your phone or computer updated then.
Exactly. Just part of using modern tech, right?
Speaking of, what about the ethics of using AI in photography in general? We talked about facial recognition,
Yeah.
but there are other things to think about too, right?
For sure. It's a big topic and a really important one. One of the biggest worries is that AI could be used to make fake or misleading photos.
We've already seen those deep fakes and stuff, those AI generated pictures and videos that look so real.
Exactly. And as this tech gets better, it's only going to get harder to tell what's real and what's not.
And that creates all sorts of ethical problems, especially in things like journalism, where it's all about truth.
Absolutely. Imagine a world where you can't trust any image you see. That's scary.
Totally. And it's not just about like completely fake images. AI can also be used to make subtle changes, to tweak a person's features or change their perspective in a way that's misleading.
That's why transparency is so important. People have a right to know if a picture's been messed with.
It's about trust. And that responsibility falls on everyone, photographers, editors, publishers, even the people looking at the pictures.
You're right. We all have to make sure AI is being used ethically in photography.
It sounds like we need like a whole new set of rules for AI photography.
Yeah, maybe. The old rules don't really work anymore. We need to adapt.
And it's not just about professional rules. It's about personal choices too. How are we using these tools responsibly in our own lives?
That's a great point. We all have a responsibility to think about the impact AI is having on our creativity and how we show the world through our photos.
It's a lot to think about. But I think these conversations are crucial, before things go too far.
Totally agree. We need to shape the future of AI, not just let it happen and make sure it aligns with, what we believe in, what's good for everyone.
Yeah, it really is. Makes your head spin a little.
It does.
But that's what we do here, right? Dig deep into these big changes, this whole AI imaging revolution.
Exactly. And like we've been saying, there's so much potential, but also some tough questions that we can't ignore.
Totally. It's not just about the tech itself. It's about how this is going to change us, how we see things, even like what it means to be creative.
That's what's so fascinating. It's where technology meets art, and then you throw ethics into the mix. It's powerful stuff. How we handle it, it really matters.
So as we wrap up our deep dive into AI lenses, what's the one thing you hope people listening take away from all this?
I think the big takeaway is this. AI is not going away. It's going to change how we make and see images, whether we're ready for it or not.
It's not if, it's how.
Exactly. And that's where we all come in. Photographers, developers, the people making the rules, everyone. We have to think about this stuff, the ethical side of it.
We got to make sure AI is used for good,
Yeah.
not just for creating more problems.
Couldn't agree more. It's about embracing the good parts, but also knowing the limits, knowing what could go wrong.
And moving forward, it's all about staying informed, staying engaged, and staying curious.
Because the future of images is being written right now. And we all have a part in that story.
Well said. And on that note, a huge thank you to everyone for joining us on this deep dive into AI-powered camera lenses. Hopefully it sparked some ideas, got you thinking, maybe even inspired you a little.
It's been great talking about all this with you.
Keep those questions coming, keep the conversation going, and stay tuned for more deep dives into the world of tech.
See you next time.